as it stands, I have 7 infantry and 5 archers. So, given that I'm waiting for the tournaments, I don't want a big army, just because I want to be able to afford it, and right now it's costing me 60 a week, but that will go up as I upgrade troops, and it costs money to upgrade them. So I'm going to recruit a few more just because I've taken some losses, but I'm not going to let my party get too big, because it doesn't really need to be. I'm just going to go around the map finding bandits, and I'm going to focus on training me, not my troops, but they're there to back me up so that I can go up against bigger groups of bandits. But when you take down an enemy, you get XP. So when your troops take down the enemy, they get XP. And at the end, there is a bit shared to the whole party, which includes me. So yeah, that is the plan. I am just gonna wander around. This forest over here in the Swadian territory generally has some forest bandits. So I'll probably just stick around here for a little while. And I might check some of the cities to see if I can recruit some heroes. And you can see right here, like that quest where I had to rescue the merchant's brother, you can find bandit camps out in the wild. And I think there's only one camp for each type of bandit at a time. But this is where they go to regroup. And you can see it's kind of hard to see through the trees here. They will come back here periodically, and it's kind of like them getting a supply. Like, I need food for my army, which I still have a decent amount, but I should pick some more up. You can raid these camps. I like to keep them here just so that when I am running around looking for battles, I know that I can just hang out there and I'm pretty likely to run into a few. So there's a couple small bandit groups here. And actually, I'll just pause and show you. You can see, well, maybe see, on the map here, there are tracks. And it's kind of hot and cold. Red and orange, obviously hot, and, well, blue is cold, but there's even sort of grey, meaning it's very cold. And this is actually a skill that you can get up. You can see tracks from further away, and you can get better information about them. And those are some deserters. Deserters, I'm pretty sure, will always appear on horses on the map, even though they aren't always on horses, but they are troops. So you could find Swadian troops that have deserted armies, and I consider them a bandit. I think that's officially the category they fall under. But I'm going to try and play these fights a little smarter and not have my infantry just hammering into enemy archers and dying once they actually reach them. But I do want to be the one to kill the enemies, not my soldiers, because I want all of that XP so that I can get stronger and win a tournament, not just fall on my ass again. So I don't want to take the bandits on entirely alone. Once my troops get into the fray, I can pretty easily go around and hit the bandits. Although, I have to actually hit them to get XP. Wow, this guy is... wouldn't call him nimble, I'm just bad. You can see how slowly this axe swings. That's because my two-handed weapon skill isn't very good. So I've leveled up. There was no loot worth taking, so I just sold it. But I am going to get some more strength. And I'm going to go for Iron Flesh again, just to make me more durable. And points into throwing. So I'll zoom in here. You can see my one-handed is 53, two-handed is 52, polearms is 31, archery is 98, crossbows is 30, and throwing is 49. One-handed and two-handed I'm going to use a lot of. Generally one-handed just so I can have a shield with it. So I'm not really going to put points into that. Polearms I might put a few into, but polearms are fairly straightforward to use and they're usually pretty safe to use. Archery I'm going to level up and I don't really need to add skills to it. Crossbows and throwing I will eventually get. Those are kind of where I'll focus my points when I level up, just because they aren't weapons I'm going to regularly use. And in a tournament, it's a random basket of weapons based on the faction. Well, I don't know if it's the faction's territory or just the territory in general. So if I'll just show you Praven. This, I'm pretty sure, I'll just check. I think this is the Swadian capital. And I'd say it is because this is the king's city. I'm pretty sure the only type of tournament there is jousting, but it's still like the big mosh pit of people. You don't have the real jousting with the fence in the middle and you go down either side. It's just a mess of people with lances trying to kill each other. Well, knock each other out. So in there, I know I'm going to get a polearm, so I know what I'm up for. But in other cities, it's going to be a selection of weapons, and I don't think it's so much based on who owns the city, because if the Nords capture that, I think it will still be only jousting. But I might be totally wrong about that. I'm gonna... When you have people selected here, you can move them up and down. When you go into combat, it will take from the top. And it does kind of mix it a little bit, but it will take a vast majority from the top of the order that you've got them placed in. So put the new guys at the top so that they can get in the fight and get the XP faster. So we'll be going up against 17 forest bandits here. I'm going to be bringing my whole army either way. I just like to keep it in order of who I want to level up. Oh, they're a bit closer than I expected. I just pulled my axe out to try and block, thinking I had a shield. I'm thinking I'll have some losses in this fight. Yeah, I've already had someone knocked out. But that is to be expected in the early game. And even in the late game, when you go into fights, not everyone is guaranteed to make it out alive. So I'm going to use my bow here just because it's a bit safer. And I still get the XP, just not the weapon skills and two-handed that I need. Oh, so my archers got him. But if you get knocked out in a battle, your troops will sort of automatically finish it off. I'm not going to take anything from that loot pile. Your troops will automatically finish the fight, but they will not fight nearly as well as when you're on the field with them. You can even just order your troops to fight without you, as opposed to charging the battle with them. And even if you have elite troops against a little handful of bandits, somehow your elite troops manage to die. And even if they're all archers and you know the bandits will never get close to them, you'll still lose some people. So I really try to avoid automatic battles. So when my health got low there, it was better to just use my bow as opposed to risk getting knocked out. And if you get knocked out enough, and it has to be a lot of times, you can actually get brain damage. And maybe some other stuff, but with the brain damage you lose 1 intelligence. Not sure if you can get physical injuries as well. But it does take a lot of getting knocked out for that to happen. And I'm not sure if getting knocked out in a tournament counts towards that. Got 2 of them running away this time. And I think there are a few factors that depend on how quickly and how many people run away. If you're against a big army, it'll take a lot, and you can even get reinforcements if you have more people than can fit on the field. Again, not really anything to take. I will take stuff I think above 160 is worth taking so that I can sell it in a city. But when people run from the field, troops will break, and they can actually rally so they won't retreat. They'll run away for a bit and then might see that some more allies of theirs have joined the fight, so they'll turn around and rejoin but still be a bit scattered. Or they will just flat out flee the field. I think a few of those factors are if they're outnumbered, without being outnumbered, it takes into account the quality of your troops, not just the quantity. But also, I think how quickly they've been defeated. I think I lost those bandits that I saw. Yeah, I did. So you can see tracking at night is difficult. But if I level that up, I will be able to track at night. But with breaking and rallying, I think a big factor is how quickly your allies are being defeated. Because if you're in a big long battle and you're losing, but you're not totally getting pummeled into the dirt, the troops are more likely to stick around, as opposed to heavy cavalry just trampling through half an army in a minute. That's pretty likely to cause some morale issues. You'll notice that a few of my infantry actually have throwing weapons. We've got some axes and some spears you can see flying towards the bandits. A fair few hitting. Throwing weapons, you can't carry much ammo at a time, but they're pretty powerful. If you actually land a hit with them, you'll do a lot of damage. Bows are quick to fire, but you're also quick to work through your ammo, and they don't do as much damage. Crossbows are steadier. With a bow, when you hold it down, over time, the longer you hold it, it becomes more difficult, and eventually your aim gets worse until you lose the arrow, or just try again. With a crossbow, you can aim for a while, you'll stay steady, the reticle won't get bigger. And I'll just in the middle of this explanation level up. So I'm going to hit level 12 strength here. And if you look at power draw, I don't have a plus symbol, but now that I level up, I do. So it's at every 3, you can add another point. I'm going to put a point into power strike, and that will increase my melee damage by 8%. I think 51 health, that's decent right now. I want to hit a bit harder. And points into throwing. But yeah, bows are quick, and I'd say that's good when you want to suppress your enemy and just get a lot of shots in. Crossbows are steady. They take more strength to wield, I think, but you don't need power draw skills. But they're steady and pack more punch, but they take a lot longer to fire because crossbows are pretty slow to reload, so you won't get as many hits in to the enemy before they reach you. And throwing weapons, you have very little ammo, but when you do hit, they hit very hard. So I like bows on an open field, because you can just really rain down on an enemy as they're approaching you, or as you're approaching them. Crossbows I like on siege, especially for defending, because you're up there on the walls, there's only a very limited access point, so the crossbows can just hit really hard and for a long time. And throwing weapons, they're not as useful. Archers aren't really, they don't really use throwing weapons. I think the Saranid have their first level of archers using throwing weapons, but they're good for a big burst of damage up close. And you'll see a lot of, actually I think all Nord infantry, especially the later varieties, always have throwing weapons. So if you're holding your ground and enemies coming towards you, once they get close, you can really let out a torrent of damage and wear down their first wave or their only wave if it's a small battle. But I do prefer bows, just because they're quick and good on horseback. A crossbow on horseback is just a little too slow for my liking. But on siege defense they're good, and even on siege offense. A bow is good for quickly taking down enemy archers, but if it's going to be a long siege, you can just have a crossbow and reliably pick off enemy archers. Ammo is always the problem with bows. So after this battle, I'm going to head to a city and see if the tournament roster has changed, because I've actually earned a nice little nest egg from some cash, is what I mean by that, from fighting these bandits. So yeah, I've got 1,300 dinars, and I'll get a little bit more after I sell this loot. So those leather boots, you can see leather boots plus 16 leg armor, and then sturdy leather boots plus 17. Everything has sort of different levels of its type. So you can see this leather jerkin and then a ragged leather jerkin. They're both leather jerkins, but the ragged one is worse than the regular, and then you could get a sturdy one, and there's tattered. So they have a few different levels for every item. So you can have one item that's an upgrade, but not necessarily a different piece of armor. I'm going to sell all of this. I am just going to sell everything. I know I was saving some for a hero, but I just want the money. And I am going to check the tavern. Talking about heroes, and it looks like no one's here. So Mercenary Horsemen. I'll talk to him and show you how they work. So, do you have a need for mercenaries, madam? Me and 5 of my mates are looking for a master. We'll join you for 1,596 dinars. That's a lot of money for 6 troops. And I know from experience that they also have a really high upkeep value. And I think they're just pretty average troops. They're not that good. There are tournaments at Kudan, Talga, Nara, and Barry. So there is a new one, but it is once again in the Kurgat lands. And they are always mounted and heavily revolve around throwing weapons and ranged weapons. I could do it, but I think it'd be a bit of a slog to get through it. So I'll see, I've got a weekly cost of 100. If I upgrade all of my footmen, it only goes to 160. That's actually not that bad. But if you ever do this and you want to reset it, you just hit the reset button. So you can test how your upkeep will change and everything. But it will upgrade them. And I think that is the highest I'll get them just for now. Because I do want to save some money so that I can keep doing tournaments. I am actually just going to head over to the Kurgat lands and see if I can get in a tournament. Another downside to the Kurgat and surrounded lands is that their bandits use horses, so they're very quick. There we go, paid 160. So I've got a few weeks in the bank. Oh, although I need some food, yeah. We're almost out of grain, and then it's just the meat that's left. And every city will have different prices depending on how wealthy or poor they are. I've made it to Nara without running into any bandits. Yeah, I'm gonna get a bit more food. And the cabbages aren't too expensive, and I've got enough grain. But the arena is closed because it's night, so I'm checking the tavern. So this here is a hero. You can see unique name. So yes, what is it you wish? To pass the time of day with a fellow traveler, if you permit. Very well, I do not mind. My name is Lazalit. It is spelt differently when he says it. I am the second son of the Count of Geroya, of whom you have no doubt heard. Having no inheritance of my own, I came here to seek my fortune in Calradia, training men in the art of battle. Unfortunately, the lord here in Nara has no taste for the disciplinary methods needed to turn rabble into soldiers. I told him it was wiser to flog them now than bury them later, but he would not listen, and I was told to take my services elsewhere. So, if you know of any commander who believes that his purpose is to win battles rather than pamper his soldiers, I would be pleased if you directed me to him. I don't have any heroes, but he sounds like a bit of a jerk. He'd be pleased to ride with me, at least for a little while, for pay and a share of any loot. I'm a skilled swordsman, and I can also instruct your men in fighting, but I warn you that I do not care to fight for a leader who is lax in discipline with her men, for in the long run, they will not respect a soft hand. And he would like a payment of 400 dinars to join me. So he's not going to be part of the crew. Because I need that money for my bets. I'm not going to wait in the city because it costs money, so... that's the caravan. I always think the Vaegier are bandits because they're grey, and so are the bandits. I'm just going to wait here for a little bit in my tent, and hopefully the tournament hasn't ended. It hasn't. Cool. So I'll place a bet on myself. Whoa, this is a big brawl. Now it's all mounted, and I've got a bow. I can see the guys in front of me have throwing spears, and a lot of lances. So it's actually a pretty mixed variety. I thought it was just ranged weapons. Oh, and that guy's got a... no, I thought he had a sword and shield, but he's just using his throwing spears as a stabbing spear. Ow. Lances require speed to do any real damage, but they can still bruise you if they're going slowly. That was a great shot. Missed a guy a foot away. Oh, and that guy's got a two-handed sword. So, I mean, just about every weapon in the game is being displayed at this tournament. As well as my awful aim. Hopefully I get a lance so I can show you how they work. Ooh! There's my own guy. I'm not colorblind, I'm just regular blind. Alright, my horse archery isn't great. So if I can... yeah, it looks like it's just the yellow team and me left. So if I can, I'm going to take out all of their horses. And then I can pick up a weapon off the ground. I think all three of them have lances left. Given that they need speed, I want this guy off his horse. Because they aren't going to do a whole lot from the ground. They can still take me down. But they're not the most threatening, and I think... well, I say that. It took half my health that I had left. I think even given that I took out my own teammate, I might make it through to the next round anyway. Because this was a big group and I'm one of the last few standing. Alright, we took one of them out on the charge. Tournaments in the other game tend to take a little longer, because they're not hitting quite as hard. As time goes on, and I level up a bit more, when I come to do tournaments they should be pretty quick. Well, they'll be pretty quick if I get knocked out in the first round, but hopefully that won't happen. If I do win this, it's 4,000 dinars. That'll pay for my little army for quite some time. You might have noticed that the AI isn't the greatest. In tournaments, they'll get stuck on walls a lot. Especially when they're mounted. On foot, they're not that bad. A lot of their team were archers. Makes it easier to take them down because they can't block my arrows with a shield. Thought I took him out, it was just someone else going down. Wow, this guy is durable. Oh, apparently I am too, that was a lot of hits. So I'm going to take his horse out. Oh, or I'm going to miss his horse and hit him. Yeah, you can take the horse out and it makes it a bit of an easier time. So yeah, no scary opponents left. A couple champion fighters, but that's it. So those guys both have lances, and me and Greenie have throwing spears. So I'm going to take down these horses just because a lance depends on speed. Without it, they're not going to be much threat at all. Though I can probably just get behind red. You know, sneak attacks are good when you can actually hit your target. So you can see up closer, a lance isn't really going to do much to me. There we go. Take out his horse again. Although if he shows his back, I'm just going to go for him. Yeah, horses in tight spaces really mess with the AI. So maybe I should have come to these tournaments earlier. We've both got bows, and you can see my ally had a dagger. If you have a bow, you also have a dagger, but you can't block with them. So this should be, well, is definitely going to be an easy round. Archers will make quick work of a jouster, or a lancer, I guess I should call him. We're not really jousting. So it's just me and a champion left. And I've got a bow, he has a lance, so I should be able to just run circles around him, or at the very least, take his horse down, and then he's just about powerless. If you're on foot with a lance, you can kind of use your enemy's speed against you, but if I stay next to him, I don't have speed to be used against me. It might actually be faster to just hop off and use my dagger. But I think, oh, honestly, this works just as well. So that was a pretty dull tournament, but straightforward. I've won the tournament of Nara. You're filled with pride as the crowd cheers your name. In addition to honor, fame, and glory, you earn a prize of 200 dinars. Moreover, you earn 3,980 dinars from the clever bets you placed on yourself. So 4,180 in total. Not a bad payday.